In the South, obviously Houston, the number 1 seed, probably were the best team last year before they had all of their injuries, and then get knocked out in the Sweet 16 by Miami. Kind of a similar deal this year. Lost some bench depth, had the brutal game in the Big 12 against Iowa State, and either that's a good thing for getting it out of your system, or B, it's a bad thing because it reminds us all of, on Houston's worst day, their inability to score against a team that can play some defense. It makes them very, 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 very vulnerable. Will, which side of the fence are you on Houston here, in terms of that performance? Good to get out of the system, they'll be fine, or red light?
It's a red flag. There's too many of these for them. Like, I know it's a couple of years ago, that game against Villanova, which my eyes are still recovering from, was it 50-44? Last year, Miami ran them out of the building. I worry with them too. They're so referee dependent, where they're so handsy, they're so physical on defense, where you can call a foul or not call a foul on any play. And if you get a referee crew that is calling a lot of fouls, you get them in the bonus early, things like that. And I don't know if they have enough shot making to string 6 of these together against good teams. So I do like them. I laid the points against Longwood. I think they'll smother Longwood. I think they'll come in there. If you're just talking about against the spread, like in a bad mood, and Longwood team total under, probably good. I could see Houston winning that game 77-40. They're a bit of a bully. But after that, like, Nebraska's a sneaky good team in the second round. I'm looking to fade them. I'd love to pick Florida to come out of this bracket, but losing the big guy, I think, hurts them. They're such an offensive rebounding oriented team, and not getting those second chances is a big component. So I'm not a fan of Houston. Sammy, I don't know if you feel the same way.
I'm not either. They're going to have that game eventually where they score 59 and lose. It happens almost every year. But can we talk about poor Longwood? I mean, holy cow, Longwood gets to the tournament, and they got to face a Houston team that just got blasted in the conference tournament. And I hate that we did a Spaces on Monday night, and I had a bunch of guys on there who are very good at betting basketball, and we bet Houston -14 and -14.5 in the first half. Because that could be a game. We could flip that thing on at halftime, and it could be 42-17 or something. I think that's one of the best bets of the entire first round is Houston in the first half. That number opened like 22.5. It's been blasted up toward 25. But, I mean, how many points, Bear, is Longwood going to score against Houston in the first half? I mean, I think that is such a good bet. It's probably going to close 16. I don't know that I want to lay 16, but you could lay 15 right now, first half Cougars.
Yeah, I was going to say that you could look up, and that could be like 37-15 or something. And the good thing about, at least in terms of Houston, it's one of the later games that night in Memphis, so it's not going to be one of those early empty arena, just kind of waking up. Like Houston will be ready to play in that game. That's something that I'm actually going to fire on here in a second here. I would
do it now, man. Do it now.
I'm doing it right now. I'm looking.
It's going to be way higher.
How about this? How about just 52 for a team total for Longwood? How are they getting to 53? Like, if Longwood scores 53 points,
77-49, maybe that's like a very logical final. Yeah. How's Longwood getting a 50?
Bad draw for Longwood. Poor Longwood.
I got Houston at -20, so I'll take it. Because what's it now? 23?
24.5.
24.5, yeah.
Cut to us Thursday night when it's 41-40 Longwood at the half, and we're throwing things across the room.
I don't think so.
However,
I love this game.
If you look at these top 3 seeds in here, you got Houston the 1, Marquette the 2, Kentucky the 3. Like, Will, you mentioned the Nebraska A&M game. I would put Houston is the top 3 seed, very most likely to not make the Sweet 16, just because A&M, like they just play, they can play an ugly game. I mean, they don't shoot the ball well at all, but they always find themselves in close games. Nebraska with Hoiberg, like they can score points. Like, I think that second round matchup for Houston is very dangerous, more so than I think Kentucky against Texas Tech or Marquette against a potentially shorthanded Florida team.
Yeah, Nebraska A&M is another game where it's like, damn, I really like both of these
Yeah.
teams. I think more than the market, and they squared them up against each other. So I don't know where to go there. I guess Nebraska. You mentioned Hoiberg. What a hell of a job. I mean, that's not an easy place to win. To win basketball games in Nebraska, recruit there, etc. A&M though they showed life against Florida. They couldn't hold up second half. Florida just went past them, and that was just a really exciting game. But Texas A&M did shoot the ball really well that first half against Florida. I think they scored like 50-something points. So if you can just make some threes, I mean, their 3-point numbers were awful during the regular season. But if they got by Nebraska, whoever wins that game, but if A&M can get there and just shoot 35% from three, something like that, with the rest of their team, the rest of their roster, I agree. Whoever comes out of that game is live.
Can your Kentucky Wildcats play enough defense to advance to the second weekend?
I hope
in this
so.
bracket.
Man. I hope so. If they don't, I will be in trouble. I think the bosses at Fox might take me outside and spank me if Kentucky loses to Oakland. I've been thinking about this team for 4 months, man, and I saw the draw, and I think it's a good draw actually. Because you avoid this thunderous number one. My big concern was that we were going to get Kentucky and UConn in the East region, and I was just going to cry. But I mean, Houston's certainly beatable. Kolek at Marquette, we don't know how efficient he's going to be with the oblique. I think that obviously changes things in that region. The question was which number 1 or 2 or 3 goes down. I don't think any of them do. That's a cop out, but this is a region that I think is pretty chalky. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Sweet 16. So nothing chaotic here, but if Kentucky can't crack the 2-3 zone at Oakland, they don't deserve to win the title. I like Greg Kampe. I think Greg Kampe's a great guy. But Kentucky has 4 first-round picks. And if you can't solve the 2-3 zone at Oakland, I will be very, very disappointed.
So we think this will be a pretty chalky. Is there a team seated 12th or lower that you think potentially could go? If Vermont is
I have
hitting
Vermont.
threes, could they beat Duke? I don't know.
I don't think they could score enough. They have the components, like they play good defense. They're going to slow the game down. That might be a good under game. I just don't know if they make enough. I just don't know if they have enough firepower to actually get over the finish line. That feels like a game. Like if you like the Vermont, maybe you take them in the first half, maybe you take the under, but that just feels like a game where, maybe Vermont's hanging around, Duke's up like 3 or 4 late, and then they just go on a run which Vermont can't answer, and they end up like pulling away at the end. So maybe first half of Vermont. I just don't know if they have enough punch on offense.
Maybe it's James Madison. Let's talk about them for a second. I was sitting at a spot last night in Vegas, and one odds maker who's very sharp said he makes Madison -1 against Wisconsin. Now that's one man's opinion. I respect this guy though a lot, and if they could beat Wisconsin, that's a team that's played 34 times this year, only has 3 losses, and I think there's a lot of sexy teams right now. There's a lot of love for the Grand Canyons. There's a lot of love for, the Samfords. I think James Madison's a little sexy, but when you hear a Vegas guy go, I made Madison 1 against Wisconsin, you're like, wait a minute. Maybe I need to overthink this.
5.5, right?
Yeah.
5.5, yeah.
He thinks that number is going away. He thinks there's some dummying going on. Because remember, when we saw this number on Sunday night, it was Wisconsin as low as -3.5. And they laid it up, but at 5.5, he is adamant that it's coming back. So maybe I bet a little 5.5. Maybe I bet a lot of 5.5. Who can really know?
I'll just say this: Bill Krakenberger texted me immediately when the lines came out, and he took JMU immediately. So that was that's the first thing he texted me was JMU. So I think to Sammy's point, people in Vegas are very aligned on JMU in this game.
Last 3 Sunbelt teams that were a 12, by the way, did pull the 12-5 upset. So there's a little bit of a historical trend there.
We need an additional group chat where we got Crackman. It's the 4 of us and Crack. We need to spice it up a little. Add the Crackman.
You're not getting much spice from him. You're just getting.
I think Crack is a WhatsApp or a Telegram guy.
Okay.
For sure.
I don't think he does the general. Every communication I've had with him has been on Telegram. I think. Does Crack actually have a real phone number?
He does, because we do radio together, and so I do have to text him from time to time. But no, yeah, real number. No, JMU is his first thing he texted me. So I took it because I'm not a dummy.
Again, Wisconsin, in other words, they play at it. they're a team that I have not been able to figure out all year long. Like I can't get on the right side of them. I should probably just stay away from this game. I liked Northwestern against them in the Big Ten tournament, lost. I just can't. I can't find my level with the Badgers, so I'll just sit here and root for Sammy hypothetically. If hypothetically Sammy took JMU plus 5.5, hypothetically, I'll root for that. If there was a team seeded fourth or lower to come out of here and reach the Final Four, I think it could be Texas Tech. My man Pop Isaacs. I think I love Texas Tech against NC State. It's an NC State team that was very close to losing to Louisville. They needed a Virginia utter meltdown at the free throw line to win that game. I mean, yeah, having a week off, in theory, you should be able to bounce back and play. I don't think it's a thing where NC State's out of gas. I think it's more of where the hell did this run come from what we saw all year from NC State, and getting a couple of fortunate situations there with Louisville, and then the Virginia. I like Tech. Again, I think it's a team that defensively, if they can slow Kentucky down a little bit and force Kentucky to play a little defense, that could potentially be a bad matchup for Kentucky, even though the game would be in Pittsburgh and Calipari. I'm sure we'll have 1 million fans there as well. But if I were looking to go way off the grid here and pick someone outside of Kentucky or Houston to get to the Final Four, Tech isn't the worst, Deb.
I wrote down Texas Tech as well. Thanks for reading my notes, Bear. They also make their foul shots, which I think is really important. Going way back to the beginning of the show when you mentioned Yale Brown doesn't shoot their foul shots well. Like they're 60%. At the end of that game, they didn't make their foul shots. We saw was it NC State against who they played before? Was it NC State or that they're playing someone that missed their foul shots again? NC State was able to come back. Like this is what teams do. Texas Tech makes their foul shots, which is important to winning tournament games. Well, Virginia. It's important to make your foul shots, and Tech makes their foul shots.
Yeah, I think Jeff brings up a good point. Not only you're looking for a team that makes their foul shots, but just betting strategy, tournament strategy in general. You want a team where you can look at the roster and you got 1 or 2 of their key players where, hey, we're up 4, we're trying to nurse a lead, and you can throw it to one guy that's 90%. Even if the team isn't great overall, you want 1 or 2 guys that are like the 80, 85%. You want at least a couple guys that are those safety valves where you can put the game away, and you have at least a couple guys you trust that are in the 80s or above, at least to throw the ball to when you need to ice it.
So I've got Houston, UK in the Final Four, or in the Elite Eight, excuse me. But let me share what somebody told me on Sunday. He said one of the first bets I made was Colorado to make the Final Four at 125-1.
Wow.
And I said, "You're crazy." And he said, "Yeah, but it's still a good bet." They've got 3 NBA guys.
Yeah,
and I think you look at a team that's sort of getting healthy at the right time. They go to the Pac-12 championship game, lost to a very hot Oregon team that you guys have been talking about for months now. Cody Williams could be the first overall pick in the draft. He could be. There's a world where that's a thing. But you face Marquette early with Kolek a little banged up. If Kentucky can't get stops, Colorado could definitely get into that game against Houston. It's not my bet, but 125-1 on Colorado is a bet from a guy that I really, really respect.
No, and you're looking at a Boise. How the reaction of Boise on Sunday night, like when you're in a playing game, like I don't know like what type of like how they're going to respond to, like do they feel like slighted and come out and play with their hair on fire, or are they down? But you're right. Colorado's a team that early in the year a lot of people were on, a lot of people thought pretty highly of, and then they went through a lull in Pac-12 conference play. But if you look at the draw, like that, Sammy, that's not a terrible bet at all.
No,
you get a short-handed Florida team. You get, like you said, Marquette in Shaka has not been a good coach tournament-wise since the VCU run, and then maybe you get Texas, Kentucky, like. There are worse bets to be made. Like I might have to hop in on that.
I mean, you bet $1 and you win 125. I think we could all afford $1 better.
Yeah, I don't know. After Novak dropped a match last week against I forgot the name of the Italian that he dropped the first set to, and I decided to hop in.
Nardi.
Yeah, and my man Mike Nardi, and that's not Mike Nardi, but
Wyndham Clark missed the putt. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I'll have to, maybe I can go through my my loose change jug at home and funnel together some money to bet the Colorado Buffaloes.
That was impressive how Sammy did that math on the fly, though. $1 to win 125, the 125 to 1. I was impressed with that.
I did. I was going to put it in my calculator. I was going to be like 1 times 125.
Carry the one.
Lampkin, the TC, like how funny would it be if, with all the talk about Colorado football and Deion Sanders,
basketball,
Coach Prime, if it's CU, my man Tad Boyle, and CU hoops getting to the Final Four, like
does Ralphie show up to the Final Four? Do we get Ralphie at the Final Four? I'd root for that. I'd love to see that. Just run on the court before the game. No.
Yeah, how you have Ralphie running around State Farm Stadium in there? Like, they got natural grass, right?
Sammy, would you be surprised to learn I have a physical calculator at my desk? Would that surprise you, like an actual old school calculator?
No. I'm not surprised by anything anymore.
Yeah, not surprised by me at all. Yeah, you mentioned calculator. It's right here. It's how I add everything up.
Is that how you text crack? You text it on the calculator?
I do. I just on calculator. It just happened to be right here. You mentioned calculator. I look, Colorado, man. They have the formula we talk about, right? Point guard play, good interior defense. They got the big fella on the inside. They have everything that you sort of get from time to time for these Final Four teams. And what's the number, Bear? I'm sure you have this, right? The one winner of the play-in game has made the Sweet 16 every year. Is that what it is? Or something close to that?
Yeah.
They have the play-in game. I know UCLA did that a few years back when they had the play-in game. They thought they were disrespected to get there. And look, Colorado's the play-in game. They play well, and then boom, they end up in the Sweet 16. And once you're in there, anything's possible at that point.
Yeah, I think these play-in teams, they get a game under their belt. They feel good about themselves. They see the ball go through the hoop. And look, I mean, you don't want to be in the play-in game because it is one extra chance to lose. But once you win it, it's strangely, I think, an advantage where the other team you're playing is coming in cold. You got that one game under your belt. So it does make some sense that we do see some runs here from these play-in teams. So I wouldn't be shocked if Colorado goes on a run.
So while financially, I think we're all going to be rooting for Colorado, maybe at 125 to 1. I hate doing it, Sammy, because it feels like everybody is picking Kentucky, but I'm going to take Kentucky to come out of here. I don't want to, because every bracket I've seen by all the talking heads on TV has had Kentucky, but just my concern with Houston in their inability to score at times. I think we will get it. I think ultimately we will get a Kentucky-Houston elite game. How would you feel about that? Would you be concerned about Houston, or would you feel pretty good in that matchup, Sammy?
I'd be concerned that Calipari plays the defensive lineup against Houston, which would I'd jump out the window if he did that. But it's not unthinkable, Bear. I mean, this is a guy, remember, that had Devin Booker and played him less than 20 minutes a game. Devin Booker scored 70 points this year in the NBA, and Cal's like, I'm gonna play the Harrison twins a little bit more in college. So that's my concern. I mean, it's so easy. The game plan for Houston, if you're Kentucky, is death lineup. It's the 3 freshmen, it's Reeves, and it's Big Z. You stop us. If they throw Wagner and the 2 7-footers out there against Houston, I will jump out the window. Because if you try to slugfest Houston, you will lose. But that's Cal, though. That's Cal in a nutshell. I saw him the other day, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but we're about to get into the freaking tournament, guys. And Cal's like, I might change my lineup a little bit. I'm like, we're still changing the lineup. The tournament starts on Thursday. And he's still trying to change his rotations. Drives me insane. But I have Kentucky winning the region.
I will say, though, the Colorado number has moved a lot, Sammy. One has them only 3,500 to win 35 to 1. So like wow. I saw
that's
a 40 to 1
number. I saw win 5 games, 35 to 1. That's a horrible number.
I saw 40 to 1. So I saw 80 to 1. That 125 is long disappeared.
Doesn't take much, Jeff. couple of bets at 125.
35 to 1 on a team to win 5 games. Oh my God.
Wear a mask and a gun. It's easier.
Oh, and people will bet it because they just wanted to, they have no idea of the math and involved in how terrible of a price, like that's a clear situation of a money line rollover. That will
Sounds like more of a fair price to make the Sweet 16 because you got to win 3 games just to make the Sweet 16. That sounds like more of a 35 to 1. The Final Four 35 to 1. My goodness, that's offensive. That's actually offensive.
South region winner, Colorado plus 3,500.
Don't do it. Don't bet 30.
I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that price has changed a lot now.
I don't want to ask what site that is because I don't want any negative repercussions, and we'll let whatever people. I don't want to know. I don't know, but Kentucky, of course, one of those teams lost their first conference tournament game. Tennessee, Creighton, Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, Alabama. They're all top 4 seeds. Lost their first conference tournament game. Of course, no team that's lost their first conference tournament game has won the national title. So historical outlier. I guess the thing being, if you can lose to a team that you're playing in your first conference tournament game, you can lose to anybody. So, Will, where are we going here? We're gonna saddle Kentucky with some more weight here. Or are you gonna go elsewhere?
I picked Florida to come out, then I crossed them off and I went with Kentucky. I couldn't get myself to do it. I'm going with Kentucky. So we're all on the same page here, I think, right?
You know what? I'm going to pick Kentucky just because I'm rooting for Sammy to be right. I don't want Sammy's heart to be broken. I don't want him to get a spanking behind the shed. So I'll go with Kentucky here just to make Sammy happy. But they could lose to Oakland too. So
yeah, I saw Vitale's like, Kentucky's awesome with a capital A, and I'm like, no, Kentucky's the worst.
I'm just happy to hear Dick talking again. That's the thing. After everything he's been through. I mean, my man who loves to. I mean, there isn't a guy who loves to talk more and joke and be a part of everything. He couldn't say a word and speak for months because of his vocal cord cancer. I'm just happy he's doing well now. The one before we move on to the final region, the Midwest, we talked about Kentucky, how you just said something, and it's just kind of a spontaneous question that I'm going to throw out. And if anybody has an answer, yes. If not, is there a team in this tournament that has a greater range than Kentucky? You just joked they could lose to Oakland or win the national championship. That's a pretty wide range. Is there any other team out there that you could potentially say the same thing about? I guess you could joke at Tennessee could lose to St. Peter's or win the national title. Is there anyone else out there that is extreme as Kentucky, do you think?
I think Creighton is right there. Creighton's very good in a lot of ways, but Creighton faces a very tough Akron team that got a lot of money early in Vegas. They took 14, they took 13.5, took 13. That number got whacked right away, and that's always something that makes your eyes open, at least for me. I have Creighton. We'll talk about it in a second. I have them making a pretty deep run. But I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to Akron, not for 1 second. So I think their range is really high. But no, I think you nailed it, man. The Kentucky thing is super accordion-esque. It could go very drastically left or right.
Yeah, we touched on Houston. If they have one of the off shooting nights, they could lose that second round matchup, which is tricky with A&M and Nebraska. I'll throw a different one in. This is obviously not a vintage Kansas team, but they are very. They're hard to figure because they might be a better live situation just because of the health. If those two guys are healthy, which we don't know, Dickinson and McCullough, that's one team. If they're not healthy, it's a completely different team, and Samford might beat them. So Kansas, just based on health, I think is one team that I have a hard time putting my finger on.
Bear Bets full episodes drop twice a week right here on the Bear Bets YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to stay ahead of the odds, and let's celebrate all of our wins together.